How's it going, guys? Just a disclaimer, I know this shirt is tight as fuck, but this is literally the only clean shirt I have left, so I had to put this tight baby on. You already know. I look so stupid with this shirt on. But yeah, I just want to let you guys know. That's why my shirt's tight as fuck. Today I want to make a video about what mostly men, but I guess also it could apply to girls, but a vast majority is with men, what they don't understand about vulnerability, because I think there's like a misconception about vulnerability and how it's reciprocated and all of that. So the reason why I'm making this video is because I think a lot of men get vulnerability confused with being a fraud. And let me explain this. So this video is kind of inspired because of a Reddit post where some guy was talking about, women want us to always be vulnerable, but then I do, and then when I show them how vulnerable I am, like, they leave me or whatever. And this is why that woman probably left you, and this is what but it's what a lot of men get confused about vulnerability, is they assume that being vulnerable is just being able to reveal all of your problems and issues, and then you're good to go, and then she should just accept you. And you might be going, of course. Well, yeah, isn't that what you do? But there's a difference between being a vulnerable person and actually exposing yourself as a fraud. I'm going to give you an example of a way that you can be vulnerable that doesn't reveal you as a fraud. And then I'll give you an example of being vulnerable that does reveal you as a fraud. So let's say you are deep in a relationship with a girl, and let's say she talks about, let's say you're having like some deep conversation about the future or something like that, and in your head you're thinking, oh, well, I'm really afraid of long-term failure. And so one way to be vulnerable with a girl would be, in my past, I had a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of unexpected failures in my life. And through all these failures, I'm also afraid of long-term failure. Through all these failures that I've acquired over my life, I now have almost a cynical attitude towards success. And because of all these short-term failures that I had, I'm afraid of long-term failure. Now, think about that for a second. Are you revealing something about you that you lied about before? Unless you talked about before, I'm going to be so successful. Yeah, this business is going great. I'm making so much money. Then you are a fraud. But most likely, the average viewer, if they can relate to that specific thing and they tell someone that, that's not being a fraud. Now, here's an example of being vulnerable where you're actually revealing to her that you're being a fraud. It's not as bad, but it's the near equivalent of like a girl being like, I told him that I cheated on him. Why is he mad at me? I was being honest. And here's why it's not as bad, but it illustrates my point. Let's say you meet a girl and you've gone into pickup, and this is really applicable actually with people with pickup. And I think the guys that run into this the most are the ones that get so involved with pickup. And let's say you're the first couple weeks you're making all the right moves with the girl, you're being alpha, you're purposely waiting to text her back. And you're like, and you come on and you do all these mannerisms and actions to be like, hey, no, look at me, I'm a strong dude. Look at, like, you're with a strong guy, and you might convince her that you are that strong guy. Eventually, you won't be able to, but for a couple weeks, maybe even once if you're good enough, you can really convince a girl of anything and lie about it. So let's say that's your persona, but let's say deep down, you're doing all this to mask the actual problem. Let's say that you're actually a morbidly insecure person and you're afraid of rejection, and naturally you're actually pretty codependent. And let's say, like I said, let's say for like a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, you have this real macho, oh, you know, I'm alpha. Look at me, you're with this amazing dude. And then, let's say you're being vulnerable, and then you tell her, oh, well, you know, I'm actually really insecure about myself. I don't really have much self-confidence. And you know, I actually like really like love you and need you, and I don't know, insert any sort of like weakness line. And I'm not shaming people for being weak. I'm shaming people for being a fraud about it. Because notice the difference between those two situations of being vulnerable. In the first one, how did I come off as a fraud? I didn't, because I revealed something about myself that was just kind of something that she didn't know before, but it doesn't contradict anything that I told her before. But now, with this other one, you're going, hey, I'm actually a weak person. I'm actually like pretty insecure. I'm not that confident in myself. But I acted like I was all those things just so I could fuck you or date you or whatever. That's you being a fraud. That is you lying, not only to yourself, but to her. And it's kind of gross. It's honestly kind of gross. I know there are so many angry guys in the comments. So all those angry guys, before you comment, I want to let you know, you're a fraud. You are making a fake persona, and you can get mad at me, but the fact of the matter is, if you don't want to be considered a fraud, why did you put on a fake macho mask in the first place? In fact, that actually makes you a much less virtuous person, because you're actually bait and switching. So you don't really have any virtue, because your whole relationship is built on lies, and it's pretty disgusting. And for that reason, a girl has every single reason to leave you. She has every single reason to listen to that and go, what a fucking full of shit person. Like, and you can't blame her, oh, you know, I told the truth. Yeah, you should have fucking showed the truth the first time. So it's your fault. It's disgusting. It's gross. So many guys like, oh, you know, I opened up to her and now she's leaving me. You know why she's leaving you? Because you're not the person that she thought you were. And that's really the rest of my point. There's no more to this video. The takeaway from this is, if you're a dude and you feel like really offended by me right now, that's probably a sign that you're doing this. And I ask you to reevaluate your life, reevaluate how transparent you are to people, and if you're putting on a mask for a short-term benefit. Because if you are, then that's kind of sad. You're not going to get any long-term satisfaction, and it kind of sucks. So yeah, see you guys later.